Perfect. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks, Kyle. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. As Kyle was mentioning, we do have a hybrid session, so I'll be chatting with students that we've got here in the office, and then with you that are joining us online as well. But without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to Semester at Sea. This session itself, oops, and I'll admit somebody else who's coming in here too. So this session I'm going to present for probably about 20 minutes or so that we have plenty of time afterwards for you to ask questions, not only about Semester at Sea, but to take advantage of this time to talk to the Study Abroad Office staff here at UIC, so you can ask any questions about their other programs as well. So just as an overview, Semester at Sea is actually the flagship program of the Institute for Shipboard Education. We are a nonprofit, which we're very proud of. So our goal is to help as many students study abroad as possible. And we have an academic partner, Colorado State University, so that when you take your classes on board our ship, at the end of the semester, UIC will receive an official transcript from Colorado State University that has the classes that you've taken and your grades as well. So your grades will transfer over to UIC. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. And our program is will actually take you to 10 or 12 different countries, depending on your voyage's itinerary, over the course of an academic semester. And typically our voyages are about 105 days or so, give or take, so that you can visit all of those countries. And when you're in each country, you're generally spending about 4 to 6 days in that particular country. And when you're in that country, you are traveling around, visiting the sites and doing the activities that you would like to do. Then you get back onto the ship and we're taking you to the next country. And while you're on the ship, that's when you're taking your classes. So all of your classwork takes place when you're on the ship during the sea days, when you're going to the next country. So that way, when you're in port, you're taking advantage of everything that there is to see in that particular country. You're still going to have assignments due after you get back on board the ship, so you have to keep that in mind. But your live classes will take place when you're actually on the ship. And we have been around since 1963, so that's why we have well over 70,000 alumni around the world. A large part of our alumni community comes from the United States because that's where we're based, but we do have international alumni all around the world as well.
Can we just minimize the...
Oh gosh, yeah, I didn't realize that was here too. Sure. There we go. So that should make it a little bit easier. Good point. Okay, so this right here, spring 2022, we actually have a voyage that is taking place right now. So the voyage that is taking place started in Naples, Italy. It's going to finish in Germany, but the students are currently between Malta and Spain. So this voyage started in January, which is typical for our spring voyages. They usually start in January and end in mid-April. And then our fall voyages typically start in early September and then end in mid to kind of the 20s of December. So this is the itinerary for our spring voyage that's happening right now. And then for our fall voyage next semester, and then our spring voyage after that, we've got the itinerary right here. So if you're in a position right now where you're thinking of studying abroad next year, either fall 22 or spring 23, this is the itinerary that we have currently set for next year. So you would start in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, visit a couple of countries in Europe, then go through the Suez Canal here, then go to Jordan, Oman, and then continue over to India, Malaysia, Vietnam, and then actually finishing in Japan. And then in spring 2023, since we're already in Japan, that's where we're going to be starting. And we do a very similar itinerary in the reverse order, finishing in Europe as well. So next fall and spring, your voyages will either start or end in Europe and then Asia, depending on the direction that you're going. And we have a very similar itinerary, just going the opposite direction again for fall 2023. And then starting in 2024 is when we're really excited to hopefully be adding in port stays in Southern Africa and West Africa as well. So it should be changing quite a bit. But of course, everybody knows how everybody has to be flexible with the pandemic. So this is our plan for right now for 2024. And then as we have updates, of course, we will post those on our website. So always super exciting to see where you would get to go on your particular voyage. Now to talk about our campus, because our campus is the ship itself, the MV World Odyssey. So we essentially have everything that you can expect to find on a typical university campus, but just in a smaller format that's floating on the ship. So we have classrooms, we have dining halls, we have a library and snack bars. a fitness center, typical things that you would find on a university campus, but we also have a medical clinic as well, which you, I'm sure, have somewhere here on your campus as well. So the fitness center, a campus store, and then we also have a counseling center. So we have several mental health counselors if you need to use their services for any reason during the voyage. We have those available for you. There's no extra charge for that, of course. And then we have some additional facilities that are more common on a cruise ship than on a college campus, like our spa, for example, which is a place that you can go if you wanted to pay, you know, an extra fee and have a massage or get your nails done or something like that. But that's totally optional. You don't have to go to the spa. But things like the fitness center, for example, those are included in your student fees, just like they are here. So some of the photos that you see on these next pages are some of the places that I just described. So, we do also have a pool on board the ship. That's kind of a central meeting place where there's a grill and an outdoor snack bar. These are some examples of the cabins, and cabins are what we call your rooms, your dorms on board the ship for either 2 or 3 students. If you're in a 3-student cabin, there's actually like a bunk bed that folds down from the wall. So there would be like a 3rd bunk if you're in one of the triple rooms. So those are the cabins. And then we also have some meeting places that sometimes serve as classrooms as well. So a dining hall might be for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but then in between breakfast and lunch, you might have a class that's meeting there. So we use all of our spaces on board the ship really well for multi-purposes so that students can get their classes done and then still have evening activities and then meals and things like that too. And then we've got, if you're a student who likes to stay active, we have our outdoor sports court, which can be set up for basketball, for volleyball, for other events. There's always some kind of a yoga offering that's happening. I think right now we have 3 different types of yoga classes. If you're an early riser, there's like a sunset yoga class that's available out on deck, or there's other classes later on in the evenings. There's always some kind of dance class happening too. And then there's also movies, talent shows, and things like that. So lots and lots happening on the ship, just like you would find here on campus too. And so in addition to you, on a typical voyage, we usually have about 550 or so students, although we are keeping the numbers a bit smaller because of COVID. We want to make sure that we can maintain social distancing as much as possible, and then have some room set aside in the event that you test positive for COVID and would need to isolate. So we don't have quite as many students on our voyages, and that's intentional. But we do usually have quite a lot of universities represented. In press voyages, we've had about 250 different universities. In most cases, that's maybe 1 or 2 students from each of the universities. And then in some cases, we might have 10 or more students from a couple of universities where semester at sea is super popular. But there's usually a couple of students from each of these universities. And then our faculty and staff members also usually represent quite a few different universities as well. We have a lot that come from Colorado State University, because that's where our classes come from, of course. But we have professors from lots of different US universities and sometimes international universities as well, depending on how visas work out. And you have families noted here. So the professors and staff members can actually bring their kids on board the ship too. So we usually have a group of ship kids on board. So these might be 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, teenagers that you'll see participating in activities and things too. So there's a wide range of ages, including our lifelong learners. And these are folks who are usually maybe retirement age, that really want the experience of traveling around the world in a safe environment, and they're maybe interested in academics too. So they might be sitting in on some of your classes, and then you'll see them at some of the events in the evenings and in the dining halls, but these are going to be usually older folks. So you've got a wide range of ages on board the ship, but the vast majority, the bulk, are going to be undergraduate students, like around your age. And then we also have our international crew. They come from all over the world. And these are 200 folks that are the ones that are keeping the ship running. So they're the ones that are operating, the engine room. They're the ones that are making all of the meals. They're the ones cleaning the cabin. So these are the folks that are super, super important and making sure that we can actually put the program on the ship. So they're a very important part of our onboard community too. And a lot of times you can think of the ship itself as like the 13th port because you're going to see that there's a culture that develops among all of the folks that are living on the ship together, because it's such a cool feeling. When you come back from a couple of days in a particular country, you get back home, you're seeing all of your friends at dinner that you haven't seen for a couple of days because they've been out and about doing their own travels in a country too. So it's always super nice that you get back home to your home base on the World Odyssey. And then for academics, because of course you will be taking classes on board your semester at sea semester, we generally offer about 70 courses each voyage that come from 20 to 25 different subject areas. So that's what we mean by disciplines. So we might have a handful of classes that are coming from, say, political science and international studies. We might have a handful coming from business, marketing, and finance. We might have some from psychology. So that's what we mean by they're coming from different disciplines there. And about 2/3 are usually upper division classes, because we have a fair amount of students that come on during their junior year. And then 1/3 are lower division courses. We do still have occasional freshman students that join us, but sophomore year is super popular for studying abroad too. So we've got a variety of upper and lower division courses, depending on what types of requirements you're looking to fulfill here at UIC. So depending on your major, or maybe what gen eds you still have left to complete, or a minor or anything like that. And as I noted before, all of our courses do come from Colorado State University. So they're all classes that you would find in their course catalog. And they are taught by faculty members that have the highest degree in their field, whether it's PhD in most cases, but in some subject areas, it's a master's degree, but really well qualified professors. Yes.
Are the courses per semester like already set out for the next couple of years, or like
Yeah,
are
good.
they like changing?
Good question. Yeah, so we have a lot of courses that are consistently off. The question is whether the classes change every semester. So we have a consistent set of courses that are offered from semester or from voyage to voyage, like global studies, for example, which is required, and then a lot of classes that we typically offer. But then depending on the professor's specialties, we might offer some classes that are only available, one semester or a couple semesters. So on our website right now, we have all the classes posted for fall 22 and then spring 23. And then as we get closer to the voyage, usually 6 to 9 months out, the syllabi are posted for, or the syllabus is posted for each class that's on board there. So if you know, for example, that you want to study abroad in fall 22, you can go to our website and pull up the course page for fall 22, see all the classes that are listed there. And a lot of them will actually have the syllabi posted there. I think it's March that we're supposed to have all of them posted for fall 22. Yeah, you can always check our website there. Yeah, no problem. Good question. And so continuing on, so global studies, as I mentioned, is a required class that you would take on your semester 2 voyage. You have to take at least 12 credits. So that would be global studies plus 3 additional courses. You can take up to 15 credit hours, depending on what UIC would require you to do while you're studying abroad. But for us, at least 12 are required, and then you can take up to 15, and that's all included in your program fees. And our class sizes are typically quite small. So even though we have about in some cases 500 students, right now we're more about 400 students on board, your class sizes are still going to be quite small, so about 20 to 25 students. So you're going to get a lot of one-on-one time with your professors. If you can see in this photo here, this class is taking place in our union, which is the largest space on the ship, where if we needed to have a full ship gathering, this is where we would do it. But as you can see, they're just using a small corner of the union to hold this class during daytime, and then the evenings, this might be where you go and watch a movie or have some kind of an all-ship meeting. So we use our facilities for a lot of different purposes. And a funny thing on the ship is that you don't have classes on, say, Monday through Friday, because it varies depending on when you're going to be ported, when you're going to be in each particular country. So your classes are on A days or B days, which might end up being on a Saturday or Sunday if it turns out that you're going to be in a country on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So when you're on the ship, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday doesn't really matter so much. You focus on A days and B days. And yeah, classes do not happen when you're in port, except for field classes, which are essentially like field trips that are included as part of your academic program. And then so global studies, as I noted, this is a required class for all students. It's 3 credits and it's considered an upper division course. And what global studies does is it goes into more detail about all the different countries that you're going to be visiting, so that you're more prepared for each of those countries before you arrive there. So you can know what to expect or have a better idea of the political history of a country, what to expect as far as transportation goes, what kinds of issues to keep in mind as you're traveling around in this country, but it's so that you're prepared to enter that country. And then the Global Studies course helps tie together all the different countries that you're visiting to. So it's a really, really comprehensive course that helps tie everything together for your voyage, and it's required for all students to take. And then there are components after you get back on the ship, after each country, when you're reflecting in smaller groups on what you've learned while you've been in that country. And then field classes are a required component for all of the classes that you will take except for global studies. So if you're taking global studies and then 3 or 4 additional classes, then you're going to have 3 or 4 field classes. And the field class is kind of like, if you can remember back to elementary school when you would have a field trip, it's kind of like that, except more academic. So your field classes take place in one of the countries that you're going to be visiting during the course of the voyage. The field class is required, and it's about, it is 20% of your grade. So it's required for you to attend the field classes. And these are excursions and activities and visits that are arranged by your professor and then local travel guides as well. And it relates back to what you've been learning so far on the ship in that particular course. And there's no extra charge for this. It's included in your program fees already. So even if you're on a really tight budget, you're already going to be guaranteed to have 3 to 4, depending on how many classes you're taking, excursions already that you'll be getting to do in each country. And these usually take place on the first or the last day that you're in a country. So that way you still have time to travel in between to go around and see the other things that are on your wish list. And so we've got just a couple examples here. So on trips when we've gone to Ghana in the past, we had a medical anthropology class that was visiting local healthcare centers. Or a really popular one was for business students. They visited Adidas headquarters in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. So there's lots and lots of different options. And these are listed on the syllabus for each class as well. So you can see exactly where you'd be going. And now when you're in port, so when you're in the country, in addition to the field classes, which are required, there are some optional features as well. So we have field programs, which are more like excursions. If you've ever, looked into going on a cruise before, these are the activities that you can purchase that are optional. So these are planned by semester at sea staff members and then travel guides and tour guides and travel agents in the local country. And you just have to sign up and pay and show up. You don't have to do any of the planning. And so then you can take part in a variety of different types of activities. It could be anything from like a few-hour cooking class or maybe a half-day city tour to it could be like a multi-night camping experience off in the mountains. So there's a wide variety of prices that you can choose from, and these are totally optional because you can also do independent travel. So independent travel is another great way for you to see the country where you can make all of your own travel and housing and meal and entertainment arrangements. So you have a lot of flexibility, and that way you could choose something that fits with your budget, whether you've got maybe a lot of money that you've set aside for a particular country, or if you're looking to be really budget conscious. Yeah, did you have a question about that?
When you're in the country, how does housing work? Do you like choose your own housing arrangement, or is it already included?
Yeah, good question. So the question is, what do you do for housing when you're in each country? And so if you're doing one of our field programs, for example, if it's an overnight program, it'll include the housing, whether you're camping or staying at some kind of a guest house or whatever it may be. If it's just a day trip for the field program, then you can either come back to the ship, because you're always welcome to come back and sleep on the ship. Or if your plan is to maybe go and stay at an Airbnb or something like that, you can make those arrangements too if you'd like. And then for independent travel, that's when you're making all of your own arrangements. So if you're planning to take a train to another city and stay in a hostel or an Airbnb, or maybe you have family friends in a particular country, you can make all those arrangements on your own when you're doing independent travel, but you always have the option to come back to the ship and use it like your hotel. You don't have to pay anything extra for that. You can eat your meals on the ship if you would like, but it's always there for you as an option.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. Did you have one as well?
No, I was gonna ask about the ship part.
Oh, yeah, because the ship is there. Ship is there for you to come and go to as you please. So if you wanted to just do, day trips or travel around the city where you're docked, you can always come back to the ship at night. Yeah, there's fewer students that do that because a lot of folks are, off doing their field programs and trips like that, but you can always come back to the ship. Internet's going to be a little bit faster that way when there's fewer people on the ship too. So it's kind of nice to see it when it's quieter as well. And these are some examples.
Could you click the chat real quick?
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. Let's see what we've got going on. Is this, good question. Is this only for UIC students? I joined from social media and I'm interested. Oh, this particular session. Is it fine that?
No, that's fine. But
okay,
yeah, maybe you can explain.
For sure.
Open to other?
Yes. So Felicity, thank you very much for joining this particular session. I'm right here on campus at UIC, but Semester at Sea does work with most universities in the United States. So if you're attending another university or high school, you can certainly still follow up with me if you have questions and talk to your study abroad office. But we accept students from tons and tons of different universities across the United States. And I'm glad that you found this session on social media too. Thank you. And do you guys keep track of us while we're out in the country? Good question. So we are not tracking you to see exactly where you are or anything like that, but we do have an app called Safety SAFEY, that all students are required to download onto their smartphones. It's a really fantastic app. And what it does is gives you the contact information for all of the local emergency numbers. So whatever the local equivalent of 911 is in that particular country, it gives you access to that and important information about local hospitals and where the embassy is for your particular country and things like that. So all students are required to have that app. And a nice feature of it is that it does have like an emergency and SOS button. So if you are somehow, you're on your way back to the ship, you're lost, you don't know how to get back to the ship, you can activate the SOS. And then that allows us to track you and see where you are. And so we've had cases before where the student says, I'm trying to get back to the ship, I don't know where I am. So then we look and see where they are. Well, actually, you just need to go 2 rows that way. You just can't see us because we're behind another bigger ship. So we do have the ability, if you activate it, to see where you are, but we're not tracking you as you're out in a country that would cause some privacy concerns. Another question. Oh, so I know we've been in email contact before. You know if it's common for students to take during the board? Okay, that's a good question. So the internet connectivity might cause some issues for you if you're required to take an online class. I think this is something that we can talk about for your particular school through email if you would like, Salwa. But if your class requires you to join through video or anything like that, you might find it difficult to keep up. And then you might be registered for, upwards of 18 credits and trying to do that all while traveling too. So that might be something good to discuss with your academic advisor and then me in more detail later on as well. Because you have enough internet activity or internet connectivity to do your semester at sea classes, because we've got all the resources that you need on the ship. But if you're trying to take another class connected to your home school that requires you to download lots of content, you might find that difficult to do. So that's something we can certainly talk about and see if it's feasible. But good question. And I'm an international student doing a master's degree in the USA. Am I eligible to? Good question. So we do offer a postgraduate level for a semester at sea. It's still undergraduate classes that you would be taking. Oh, you're very welcome. But we do allow graduate students to apply, or recent undergraduate students that have just completed their programs. You would apply as a postgraduate student. That's an option on our website, but you just have to do it knowing that the classes that you're taking, and you are required to take them, are undergraduate classes that wouldn't, transfer back to your master's degree program. And then you would also want to see if it's even possible for you to take a semester off of your master's degree program to do semester at sea. Some master's programs are quite intensive and might not allow you to do that. So that would be a good thing to follow up with me about through email. I'm going to drop my email address here for anyone, especially those of you that are not UIC students. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions at UICvoyages.org. Okay, there we go. So that's my email address, especially for those of you that are not UIC students. You can reach out to me with any of those specific additional questions. And those of you that are UIC students, you can always, of course, reach out to the Study Abroad Office staff here as well. I'm going to minimize the chats just for a second. We've got a couple more slides to go through, but thank you. Those are some really excellent questions. So shipboard life, in addition to taking your classes, of course, and then traveling around in all the countries that we go to, there is a lot for you to be involved with on the ship too. And this is also why we recommend 12 to 15 credits maximum, because there's so much for you to do on the voyage, in addition to all of the people that you're going to be meeting and getting to know. So on the ship, we also have student clubs that you can join, quite a few different student clubs. And we have like an activity fair at the beginning of the voyage, where you can go around and learn about the different clubs and join any, or if there's some kind of type of organization that we don't have, you can start a student club for that voyage too. That's always an option. Then we have some traditions and kind of unique things that we do on board the voyage. We have the Sea Olympics, for example. So when you're on semester at sea, so on a typical land campus, there's different university or different dormitory buildings, of course. On semester at sea, we're all in the same building, the same ship, but we have different floors, different decks, and areas where students live. So you're all assigned to a different sea. So like the Red Sea, the Bering Sea, the Arabian Sea, the Yellow Sea. So you're assigned to a different sea. And then we have a day or a period of time where we have the Sea Olympics. So that's when you're competing against the other seas. And there's events like tug of war, as you can see here. There's synchronized swimming, ping pong tournaments. I think there's like a dance off as well. So there's all kinds of different events that happen as part of the Sea Olympics to determine which sea is the eventual champion. So that's a really cool competition. It helps build community among the other students that you're living with too. And then we have an alumni ball at the end of the semester, movie nights, taco night is always super popular. And then stargazing nights are really, really neat. Because if you can imagine when you're on the ship, going from one country to the next, you're out, in the ocean, you might not necessarily even be able to see land. So it's nice and dark. So there are some nights when the captain will actually turn off the outside lights so that it's extra dark and you can see the stars even better. So these are really cool nights. We had one last week, I believe it was on the same night as taco night, I'm pretty sure. So it was a big night. And so those are really cool opportunities for you to go outside and take in the stars. It might be the most stars that you've seen if you're someone who's going to school in a city like UIC here, you don't get to see quite as many stars. And then for program fees and then also financial aid, this is a really important aspect of no matter what study abroad program you want to do, you want to be sure that you're clear on the fees and then how you're going to be able to pay for this experience. So for semester at sea, these are our fees that we have right here. And I know there's a lot of sticker shock at first, so that's okay. I'll explain, I'll break it all down. So in our fees right here, what you have included actually are your tuition for 12 to 15 credits, depending on how many classes you register for. It includes your housing for the whole semester, all of your meals that you're eating on board the ship. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then a late night snack every day are included. It includes those field classes that I mentioned. You'll have one for each of your classes except for global studies. And it also includes premium medical insurance, which is super important in these times of COVID. So in the event that you were to test positive, this would cover any treatment that you might need, any hotel or quarantine stay that you might need to have, and then it would help pay for transportation if you needed to rejoin the ship if we went on to another country. So medical insurance is super, super important, even more so now. And that it includes all of the advising and staff services that you receive on the ship, because we have staff that are there 24/7 to help you, and a fuel fee. And before I go back over to talk about the class more, we've got a couple of questions here. Yeah.
For the meals aboard the ship, does that include when you're docked and if you're like staying on the ship
Yeah.
instead of like, going
Yes.
out and about, would that count? as a
Yeah,
meal or
so
no?
yep, so that would count as a meal. So if you decided that you wanted to kind of stay in the city where we're docked and then come back to the ship for your dinner, your lunch, whatever
Yeah.
meal, yep, that's already included
Okay.
there. Yeah.
So let's say if you're on the ship for like a long period of time and you need like, I don't know, like a toothbrush or like toothpaste, is there like a convenience store? Grocery store,
Good
something
question.
like
Yeah,
that?
I didn't mention it, but we do have a campus store on board the ship that has snacks and things like that, school supplies, but then also basic toiletries that you might need, semester at sea, sweatshirts and all of that. So just like you've got a campus store here, we have that on board too.
Okay.
And then also keep in mind that in each country that we go to, there's going to be tons of shops too. So even
Yeah.
if you need to get something like that and you don't like the ones we have on the ship, you can always buy something in country as well. Yeah. Did you have a question also?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
mentioned that students might have trouble logging in from the ship. Does that mean we have like limited Wi-Fi or no Wi-Fi?
Good question. Oh, it's not no Wi-Fi. Yeah. So on the ship, every student has an allotted amount of free Wi-Fi that you get per day. Because if you think about it, like Wi-Fi, it's kind of this thing that we maybe take for granted. We just know that it's up there somewhere in the air and that's how we get connected. But when we're on a ship, Wi-Fi is a lot more difficult to like provide because we're getting our internet from a satellite. So yeah, so it's a lot. We don't have the capability to do Wi-Fi as much as we do like here on a campus. Like you're not going to be able to watch Netflix and stream YouTube videos and stuff like that. But every student does have enough free Wi-Fi each day to get everything that you would be needing for your classes. And then if you would like to purchase an additional Wi-Fi package, you can do that. And so we have those costs. You could get by the whole semester without having to do that. But if you wanted to purchase additional bandwidth, additional Wi-Fi, you could do that. That's an option. But everything that you would need for your classes is available on the intranet that we have on the ship. So you're not even like really downloading it from the internet. It's like already on the ship for you. So anything that you need for your actual classes is already available for you there. So you're not wasting your free Wi-Fi on that or anything.
Okay.
Because yeah, for anyone who's maybe traveled overseas before, been researching, going abroad, you can get a lot done, like keep in touch with your family and your friends just on like through WhatsApp, for example. And you don't have to always be doing video calls, just chatting back and forth, letting your parents know, okay, you'd be able to do that like on a daily basis, just with the included Wi-Fi that you have with the program.
What about like cellular data, phone calls, text messages, and SMS text messages?
Yeah, so if you imagine you're kind of out in the ocean and not really able to connect to cell phone towers, that wouldn't really work so much when you're on the ship. But when you're in port, if you wanted to buy an international cell phone plan, you could. Most students usually get by just by using Wi-Fi at different, like these days you can get Wi-Fi like McDonald's and stuff like that. So a lot of students get by just by using Wi-Fi when they're overseas, but you can definitely purchase an international plan if you'd like. I'm sure your study abroad advisors here would have more insight on what UIC students prefer to do, but you could get by just with Wi-Fi, or if your parents feel better that you have an international plan, that's an option as well. Yeah. Yes.
Are there jobs on the ship?
Yes, and that's a perfect transition for the next slide. But I'll just finish talking really quickly about the costs here, and then I do talk about we have student assistant grants that are available. Yeah. So as you can see here, our costs, they do start out at about $27,000 for our lowest cost type of cabin. So these are the inside rooms where there's no window, and it's either 2 students or it's a triple, the one that has that extra bunk that folds down that I mentioned. And then the price goes higher as you get to the outside cabins, and the highest one, of course, is the outside double as opposed to the outside triple. And so that one's about $33,000. But again, the cost includes all of this, and that's before we add on any scholarships or financial aid or student assistant grants. So if we go to our next slide here, the funding options, these are not even all, but a lot of the different ways that you can help to fund your voyage. So in addition to UIC financial aid, and your advisors, of course, are going to be the best resources for that. Semester at sea, we also have our own scholarships and financial aid that you can apply for. So we have need-based grants, we have merit-based grants, and then we also have student assistant grants. So it's not quite like work study, but it's where you would be doing a job on board the ship in exchange for having your tuition costs lowered. So you're not getting paid throughout the voyage. We just give you a discount of $4,000 on your overall program fee before you actually board the voyage. And then you work 2 hours per day when the ship is at sea, and you're not required to work while the ship is in port because you've got, things to see when you're in each country. So the student assistant grants, we usually have about 40 or so available for each voyage. And so these would be positions where you are helping at the front desk, you're helping IT support, you're helping with our field programs office, or you're helping to work at the library or something like that. We have lots of different jobs or student assistant positions throughout the ship, but it is very competitive. There's only about 40 because it's such a great opportunity to have your program fee lowered in exchange for about 2 hours a day when the ship is at sea. And so for our process, or for the overall process, you would first apply through UIC. You've got your own study abroad application process here. Then once you're approved, you would apply to semester at sea for admission. And after you're admitted and you submit your deposit, then you can apply for financial aid for a semester at sea. Yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna add.
That's okay.
I forgot, you can keep going.
Okay, yeah, no worries. And then I see we've got 2 questions in the chat, so I'll get to those in just a sec. But in addition to semester at sea's scholarships, we also match Pell Grants. So if you're receiving a Pell Grant from or through your studies here at UIC, or for those of you that are attending other universities that are joining us online, if you're receiving a Pell Grant from through your home university, we would match that for your semester at sea semester, and that'll be automatic. You just have to submit an application for it.
I remembered.
Oh, yeah.
What is the acceptance rate for this program?
Oh, good question. Yeah, so our acceptance rate, as long as you meet our admission requirements, you've got a very good chance of being accepted. And that's coming up in just a couple of slides. I'll go over the admission requirements, but let's take a look at the chat questions and see what we've got coming in here. So is it normal for students to take out personal loans for this, or we'll be paying UIC tuition plus semester at sea? Got a good head shake coming through from, from Kyle here. So to the first one, is it normal for students to take out personal loans for this? I don't know that normal is quite the way to phrase it, but if you have some kind of a gap, if you're using all of your financial aid that you already have existing and you've got a gap, a loan could be a way that you meet that gap. That's something that you can talk to our financial aid office about to see if it's the right fit for you, or if you want to maybe try and do fundraising or something like that before you decide to take out a loan. That is an option though for students. So I can't say whether it's normal or not, because it just depends on your own financial situations. And then would you like to answer the question about UIC tuition plus semester at sea?
So no, you will not be charged UIC tuition if you participate on this program. Instead, you pay the semester at sea program fee, and that covers your UIC credits. So yeah, you won't be double charged tuition, which is great news. And after Whitney's done, we'll also be covering additional UIC funding resources, so you're aware of those. So there's lots of funding out there, both from semester at sea and UIC.
Awesome, thanks, Kyle. And then, so Pell Grant matches. Oh, and we also have a payment plan available. So if you are really planning ahead and you know which semester you want to apply for and you get admitted and you submit your deposit, and you know that you're probably going to have to pay something out of pocket for your semester, you can actually start a payment plan so that your family is able to pay over a longer amount of time in smaller increments rather than waiting until closer to our actual payment deadline and submitting a chunk. So if you're planning ahead, a payment plan is something that you and your family could consider doing as well. And then fundraising is, oh, no, just a second, I want to talk about fundraising real quick. Fundraising is another option too, if you think of like GoFundMe's and things like that, but some of our students have gotten really creative. These ladies over here actually fundraised whatever they needed to pay for their out-of-pocket costs by making these really nice headbands and selling them at their campus. I think they were from Kansas. But they sold those headbands on their campus and they were able to pay for all of the other expenses that they didn't have enough funding for yet. And they continue to sell them on board the ship from what I understand. And so you can be really creative, or if you have a very large extended family, you could maybe say, okay, for my birthday this year, maybe in advance, you'd be able to sponsor like this, half-day field program for me or something like that. There's lots of things that you can do. And we have actually an outside funding guide on our website. This whole document that gives you suggestions and provides more detail about all these items that are located here. And then your study abroad advisors at UIC or your home institution, if you're not a UIC student, will be a great resource for finding more funding information too. Yes, you have a funding question as well.
Yes. So I didn't quite hear. So going back to the question about UIC tuition plus the tuition on board, was that both of them combined or no? No. So we're not paying UIC tuition. We're paying tuition for the semester at sea.
For the semester that you're traveling with us.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it's not our fees. Oops. Here, let me go. It's not this plus UIC. It's just this.
Oh, and the fees, those include everything that says what's included?
Yes, exactly.
So it's not just us paying for the cabin.
Right. This is not just the cabin fee. This is the overall program fee. It's covered up by the Zoom info up there. Sorry. So that's the student program fee. So it includes everything over here: tuition, housing, meals, all of that is what is included. And then I'm going to go on to the next slide here. And yeah, so about 60% of our voyagers do receive some form of financial aid, which is a large number of students. We don't have full scholarships available or anything like that. So you do need to plan and just kind of keep in mind that you probably have some sort of out-of-pocket expense, but we do also have an additional scholarship. I forgot to mention specifically for UIC students. That's an additional $3,000 in auto grant that would reduce your program fees too. So that's a really great thing that we have available specifically for UIC.
What's it called?
It's an auto grant, so it helps reduce your program fee by
No application, just because you're UIC students,
Mhm.
can shave $3,000 off already.
Exactly. Yes, that's a really nice benefit that you've got as well. And these are our admission requirements. So back to your question about admission rates. So we have a very straightforward online application, which you would do after you've gone through UIC's study abroad application process, or if you're from a different university, you'd want to follow up with your study abroad office to see what their process is first. Then after you've got the all clear from the study abroad office, then you'd be able to submit your semester at sea application. It's a very straightforward application that we've got online. There's an optional essay for you to upload, just 300 to 500 words. And then you would also upload an unofficial copy of your transcript. And you do need to have at least a 2.5 GPA or higher for admission consideration. If your GPA is just slightly below that, it could be for any reason. If you'd like, you can still apply, but then submit an extra academic explanation to maybe tell us why you had maybe a rough semester last semester. We do want to look at your whole application. So if you can't quite meet that GPA, you can still apply and follow up with me because I'd be your admissions advisor and tell us what other circumstances might come at play. And it might be a situation where we just say, okay, let's pause for a semester to get your GPA up a little higher and then reapply. So we do want to help as many students as possible to study abroad. So we don't want to exclude you if your GPA is just slightly below that, but you can always tell us what the circumstances might have been. And you can't be on disciplinary or academic probation at your university at the time of embarkation. So that's another question on the application. So as long as you meet all these requirements, you are welcome to apply. And then as long as you meet these requirements, for the most part, you would be able to be admitted. But of course, we do look at every single application individually. So if we have any questions, we would reach out to you. And I'm the admissions counselor for the Midwest. So for UIC, it's me that you would be working with. For those of you that found out on social media, depending on where you're located, you might be working with one of our other admissions advisors. But if your school is in the Midwest, or if you are attending an international university, you would be working with me as well. And let's check real quick on the questions. Oh, I see that's a private question, so I maybe won't answer that one right online. If you've already put down the deposit, but if not, updated transcript, is the spot still there? Okay, so Salwa, since we've been in email contact, I'm gonna recommend that you shoot me a quick email if you can about that, so I can actually pull up your file and take a look. That's not one that I'm able to answer on this Zoom. I'm sorry about that, but I know you've got my email address. And then do we know what time the field programs information will be available for spring 2023? Probably not until closer to the actual voyage. So you can, okay, good, no problem. So for the field programs, we're not able to publish that information until closer to the voyage. So these are the additional like excursions that you can book in a country. And because there's just so many different variables and things to consider, we're not able to publish those quite as far in advance as we are for the classes, for example. So that'll be more like a couple months before. So we won't have for spring 23 probably until, gosh, I don't even remember the exact month, but it's not going to be for a little while, Salwa. But that's another thing that you can email me about, and I'll be happy to look into it for you.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
You mentioned the auto grant, financial aid or whatever it was. How do you said that it was automatically applied. Is there requirements to be applicable for that?
That you're a UIC student, so check. There you go.
Mhm.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So if you meet these requirements and you're admitted to semester at sea and you're from UIC, then an extra $3,000 off of your program fee. And then, oops, there we go. Oh, and this is just a video that I'll probably hold off on playing. But if you would like more information, for those of you that are online, I'll drop my email address in the chat. And then if you're UIC students, I think you know how to contact the Study Abroad office as well. But I'm going to go ahead and maybe hand it back to Kyle as he has some updates. Did you have a final question?
Oh yeah. Classes again. Usually how many, like, you said there are like different like majors or whatever, right?
Yeah.
How many engineering students usually get on?
Yeah, so engineering is one that's traditionally kind of tricky for study abroad. Yeah, so it's going to be really important to work with the Study Abroad office and then your academic advisor to see if and when you could work that in. We don't generally have specific engineering classes on our voyage, but if you still had some maybe gen eds set aside or something like that, that's how it could be more doable. Or you can always chat and see if maybe a summer program might be a better fit. Summer, we don't do summer voyages, but yeah, you've got your best resources right here.
Okay, thank you.
We'll stay connected.
All right, and thank you so much. I'm gonna step aside here.
Thanks, Whitney. And before I jump on, we have another guest in the room I'd like to invite to make a quick introduction. If I could ask Irina to hop in the hot seat, because Irina will actually be the advisor for this program. So Irina, do you mind giving an introduction and then maybe going to our website and showing students how they can apply?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Kyle. My name is Irina Krimova. I'm Senior Associate Director of the Study Abroad Office. I will be the advisor for this program. I'm excited to learn with you. So it sounds like a wonderful opportunity. So how do, okay,
Yeah,
I think
let's
I need
just
help here,
escape.
sorry.
And then if you click the Chrome button down there, it's the wheel with the red, yellow, and green.
Where's, I don't see.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. And now you can just open a tab and go to our website.
Perfect. Thank you, Kyle.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to pull up our homepage. This is a Study Abroad homepage. If you have not explored it, I would definitely recommend you do that. As you see, there's a lot of information. Again, sometimes it could be overwhelming, but if you have questions, we are here. We are available to meet with you. As you can see here, meet with an advisor. We have on Zoom appointments, as well as we're here in the office, 502 University Hall. So stop by and schedule appointments. Okay, so I'm going to explore programs. As you can see, again, I'm just going to quickly sort of give you an introduction of how our website works, but as you see, we have sort of clusters of different programs. We have, I want to just point out, faculty-directed programs. These are the programs that are run and taught by UIC faculty. So we have, I think, close to 20 that we're offering. So I would really encourage you to look through and see if there are any programs that are interest to you. But then in order to search for different programs, you'll just click on the button search programs. And here, as you see, you can search by the location, region, term, academic area. So anything that you feel would help you to find your ideal program. So with the semester in C, at C, what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to use the name. To pull it up. Oh, do we have multiple?
Yeah, for anything as semester and then so it'll be down with the S's.
Let's
There we
hope it's
go.
there. There it is. Yay. Okay, I know it's there. So this is fall 2022 information. You'll have, so we'll, what we did, we sort of put together the most important information for you guys, so it would be easier to navigate and learn more about the program. As you see, you can navigate and click through the tabs. Here's the academics. Then there's a link to the Semester at Sea website, finances, which is, we know, very important. So what we did, we tried to think what scholarships could be applicable for this particular program, as well as in general that students can apply for. So the first one that you'll see here is what we call Gilman International Scholarship. This is a nationally competitive scholarships that students who are Pell eligible and US citizens are eligible to apply. On average, what I've seen, it's about $5,000 scholarship. Requires a lot of work and effort and writing essays, but it's definitely worth it. Every term we have a number of UIC students who receive this scholarship. So if you are eligible, please submit an application. Sometimes I have students who talk to me and they say, oh, I don't know whether I'm going to submit an application. Not sure why. Yeah,
You said you have to be a citizen for that? Or-
Yeah,
Okay.
for that particular one, yes.
Okay.
So again, if you are eligible, definitely consider applying. The deadline for this upcoming application cycle, I believe, is March 1st, March 3rd, early March. So make sure to look into this. And again, it's very easy to navigate because there are links to particular scholarships. There are also, as Whitney mentioned, there is a Pell Grant match. So if you do receive Pell Grant at UIC, will be automatically deducted, right, from the overall program fee. Again, you don't even need to apply for that. And then there's also a link to a SNAP where you can look through other UIC scholarship opportunities.
And I just want to say a quick note with Gilman. If you are going to apply for Gilman, myself and my colleague Marley, we help students on their applications. We both have read for Gilman and know what they're looking for. And students who work with one of us typically have a much higher success rate. So please come talk to us if you want to apply for Gilman.
Great. What I would like to show you guys is the resource that you can find on our website. So again, I'm just going to homepage. Find funding. As you can see, there's a lot of information about financial aid, budgeting, some ideas for community-based funding, but here's a link to scholarships. Again, a lot of information, but we try to sort of put them in clusters so that it's easier for you to navigate. There are UIC Study Abroad Office scholarships. Again, when you click on the tab, you'll see this is a summary of various scholarships that are being offered. You would apply through UIC SNAP. There's a link provided here as well so that you can just log in and look through what's available. Kyle, did you have something to add?
No.
There's also, we're very excited. There's a Chancellor's First Gen Flames Abroad Scholarship. Kyle, do you want to talk about it since it's your baby?
So we're excited about this scholarship. It's for first-year students who are the first in their families to go to college. I know we've got a few freshmen here. So we're actually currently in an active application cycle. The deadline is April 1st. And this is a unique scholarship in that you'll find out at the end of this semester if you get it, and then you'll have the rest of your time at UIC to use it towards an approved UIC Study Abroad program. Now, unfortunately, it wouldn't be applicable to semester at sea because you can only use it on our faculty directed or exchange programs. But if you are looking at some other opportunities, this might be one that could be of interest. Yes.
By first gen, do you mean first gen here or first gen in college?
Good
generally?
question. So the first in your family to go to college.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. And then as you see, we've also have a tab for nationally competitive scholarships. So the Gilman International Scholarship is listed here. I would encourage you to look through different scholarship opportunities and see what you may qualify for. And of course, there's additional scholarships. Again, there's some generic ones. What I also, I always encourage students to look through is the diversity abroad scholarships. They have a searchable database that students can kind of see what's out there and what they could be eligible for.
And the good thing is, you know, a lot of these scholarship applications ask very similar essay questions. So once you get a solid essay for one, it's very easy to make tiny adjustments so you can apply for more than one. So I know it looks probably intimidating to see so many, but honestly, if you work with us on a solid essay, you're going to be able to repurpose it and get, you know, you can stack scholarships.
And also as a reminder, in terms of financial aid, whatever you're eligible to receive at UIC, you should be able to use that to pay for study abroad. So any grants, any loans, any scholarships, you should be able to use that to pay for study abroad. Any questions?
We'll go ahead and stop sharing, and now we'll invite anyone with questions. You can unmute yourself, you can put it in the chat, and of course here in the room, you can just let us know.
Yes.
Where do we find those scholarships? For the study abroad?
You just study abroad. You just go
Just
to
go
the
study
study abroad homepage and then find funding, or you can find the program information and there's a link to different scholarships as well.
Right.
If you want to take one of these today, this is our main flyer and it has all of our website information on the back. And for those of you online, it's just, you can Google UIC Study Abroad or studyabroad.uic.edu. Oh, and I see we've got Jackie here who is a member of our first Gen Flame Scholars. Hi, Jackie.
Hello.
What else? Good questions.
The deadline to apply for fall is March 11th. So what you need to do is get started on the UIC site. So submit the UIC application, and as soon as you're approved by us, you'll be able to start the semester at sea application.
And
Are the deadlines all the same for all the study abroad applications? They're all March 11th?
March 11th for fall and summer and academic year. And then mid-October, October 15th, usually around that time, that would be the deadline for spring 2023.
Okay.
And then when do those spring 2023 applications open up?
That would be the first day of class. So when we're back from
So
summer
fall
break, so
20
it's like
yeah.
August 20 something,
Okay.
whenever the semester starts. Any other questions?
wait, so who's gonna steal my dream and go sail around the world? People signing up. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks to our friends online. Feel free to email us if you have questions. Thank you, Whitney,
Thank you,
for
Whitney.
coming and launching this exciting partnership. I hope that whether it's this program or another one, we'll get to help you all go abroad.
Thank you, everybody, so much for joining. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your questions too. They were great.
All right, have a great day, everyone. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you all for stopping by.